inbuilt thread class. Okay, so there are two inbuilt thread class. If you remember, I mentioned in the last lecture, one is your the thread class itself and another is your runnable. Thread is a full-fledged class, runnable is an interface. And what is the difference between a class and an interface? I need not tell you, because individually one entire chapter and I think 2-3 programs I wrote for interfaces. Okay, and I also compared interface versus your class. We also studied different types of interfaces: single level, multi-level, multiple, hierarchical. A program was asked you to execute, and also I wrote, I think, 2 or 3 programs for interfaces. Okay, so you know the difference. Post that, we studied the difference between a thread and a process, and then we studied the difference between a multi-threaded program and a multi-process program. I also told you why a multi-threaded program is called a lightweight program and a multi-process system is called as a heavyweight process. Okay, I told you in the last semester when I taught you operating system, I taught you when there are multiple processes executing in a single processor, how does the context switching happens between different processes. With the help of that, I also explained to you when it is a multi-threaded program, when one program resides in the process, how does the switching happens between different threads belonging to one single program. Okay, so I showed you the diagrammatical, the process difference between the multi-thread and the multi-process system. Okay, so when we switch from one process to another process, the technique is called as your context switching. When we switch from one thread to another thread, the process or the technique is called as your switching. That is what we studied in the last lecture, and also the differences. And then after teaching you the difference between multi-thread and multi-process, I asked you to do self-study on the difference of I think multi-threading and multitasking, and multi-threading and एक और दिया था. What was that? Multi-threading, multi-process मैंने सिखाया, multi-threading, multitasking मैंने पढ़ने को बोला, and I gave you one more. Okay, बोला था वो पढ़ना. Okay, so after that I taught you how to create threads. I told you there are 3 steps that you will have to follow to create a thread. The first is to extend either the class or the interface, that is your thread or runnable. After that, you'll have to call the function, call by function the run method. So whatever you want to implement in parallel, you'll include all that inside the run function. Inside a thread class, outside the run function will not execute in parallel. Inside the thread class, inside the run function, whatever is there will execute in parallel. I told you we say simultaneously or parallel, but processor executes only one command at a time. So it gives the feel of multi-threading or multiple things executing simultaneously, but actually we are performing switching. That means it is actually only one command at a time only, but we do it in such a way that we make it multiple executions at a time. Okay, so after you extend thread or runnable, you call the run function, and then to start it you call the start method. Okay, and I told you there are 2 ways to start the start method. Okay, so but first, whatever doubt Ram asked while clearing that, I showed you, I repeated, or we can say a revision of how to do that in one way. The other way is directly by the class name itself. Okay, we saw that in the program yesterday. Okay, so after that, I think we saw one program wherein we used 3 threads, wherein one thread was used to display number from 1 to 5, other to print the multiplication of 2, and the other to print the multiplication of 3. And I think by now you might have executed your program. You might have saw every time you execute the same program, the sequence of output that you get is different. Okay, every time you get outputs in different way. That is because till now we have not controlled the flow of multi-threads. Okay, So after that, with the help of a state transition diagram, we studied the life cycle of thread. We found that there are 5 life cycle of threads, just like, and then I compared that life cycle with the of thread with the life cycle of the process that we studied in the last semester in the operating system. Okay, and we found that the life cycle of a thread is very much similar to the life cycle of a process. Life cycle of process also has 5 stages. Life cycle of thread also has 5 stages. It starts as newborn thread, goes to running, runnable, blocked, and then dead. Okay, and exactly that is what is your life cycle of your processes. So you also studied the difference between the life cycle of a thread and the life cycle of a process. After that, we studied each state, newborn, runnable, running, blocked, and dead state, with the help of a relinquishing control diagram for each one. Okay. And then after that, we studied how to use different methods in threads. Okay, how to use different methods in thread. So that there are different methods for inter-thread communication: yield, stop, sleep, notify, notify all, wait, etc. Okay, so in the last lecture I used 3 of the thread methods in the program. With the help of a program, we used 3 of the thread methods, that is your yield, stop, and sleep, and we wrote one program, and we studied that program. And I told you to do as a self study other 3 of the inter-thread communication. Those 3 methods that we studied in the last lecture, that is your yield, stop, and sleep. Okay, those are the methods used in threads. And the other 3 methods, notify, notify all, and wait, these 3 methods are used to establish communication between threads. If you want different threads to communicate with one another, then we use the other 3. Okay, then we use the other 3. Okay, yeah. Then we use the other 3 technique, that is your wait. Okay, wait, notify, and your notify all. And these are used for your inter-thread communication. These are used for your inter-thread communication. That means with these 3 methods, you can make different threads communicate with one another. But the 3 methods that I use, those are not used to communicate between threads. They are used to do certain tasks or to attain certain tasks within a thread. Okay, so 3 आपको मैंने करा था, 3 आपको खुद करना था. So this is what we have studied till your last lecture. Okay, so now in today's lecture we are going to start with, first of all I'll give you the few exceptions that you may need to deal with in threads. Okay, thread में कुछ exceptions होते हैं, arise हो सकते हैं. For example, in the last lecture I told you that while using the sleep method in thread, while using the sleep method in the thread, there may be some exceptions. Okay, so what I told you, whenever you use a sleep, you use a try catch block. I told you to use a try catch block whenever you use a sleep method. Okay, so now other than this, if your system has a very old version of your Java, or if it has the newest version of Java, and those methods that we are studying today, if they are deprecated, that means अगर हम ऐसे मेथड में क्लास में पढ़ा रही हूँ जो पुराने होके जावा से निकाल चुके हैं और नया वर्जन में नहीं है, तो मैंने अभी नया वर्जन में क्या क्या है क्या क्या नहीं है वो देखा नहीं है, अगर ऐसा हुआ, then in your command prompt it will give you an error called as deprecated, illicit error, ILLICIT, illicit error or deprecated error. If you are getting these 2 errors, that means those methods or functions are no more available with Java. In that case, what are you supposed to do is you will look at the version of your Java that is installed in your computer, and then you will Google the for this version, instead of sleep what do we have in Java. Okay, वो करके आपको ढूंढ के करना है. And if those methods are there, still it is giving some exceptions, you need not go and correct it. You just need to put that method inside try catch block and use the correct form of your exception. Okay, so the one I already showed you, that if it's sleep, then you put the sleep inside try catch block. Okay, यहाँ पे आपको sleep को डाल देना है. Okay, so and in catch, what will you do? In the last lecture I told you, you will catch that exception like this. Okay, other than this it may happen, so you can throw. What is throw, how to use throw, what is throws, how to use throws, these two we have already studied in the exceptional handling chapter. हमने दो लेक्चर मतलब 4 घंटे का लेक्चर दिया था हमने एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग में. ओके, 4 आवर लेक्चर पूरा डेडिकेट किया था एक्सेप्शन हैंडलिंग में, वेयर आई टोल्ड यू इन फर्स्ट लेक्चर वी स्टडी ट्राई एंड कैच, try with multiple catch, etc., and in its subsequent lecture we studied the throws, creating your own exception, throwing your own exception, or handling the inbuilt exception or throwing the inbuilt exception with the help of throw and throws. Okay, so वो मैं repeat नहीं करने वाली हूँ, directly I'll tell you. If you have in multi-thread you want to throw some exception, okay, then you have illegal trade state exception. What happens is, whenever a user or a program is trying to invoke a method, okay, invoke a method of a thread that cannot handle its given state. We have 5 states. We have 5 states of thread, and if the current block of code is not able to handle that initial or that current state, then it will misbehave. In that case, what you can do is sleep throw. Okay, sleep throw or throws illegal thread exception. In that case your program will not misbehave, however it will handle the exception by itself. Okay, so ऐसा करके you can throw some, you can throw some exception of your own. Okay, ये है illegal trade state exception. Okay, sorry. Or what you can do is you can catch various types of exceptions that, oh yes, other than this one, okay, your, because thread helps multiple executions at a time. Listen carefully. Multi-thread lets different blocks of code execute at a time. So what happens is, when we jump from one block of the code to another block of code to another block of code from the same, we are continuously jumping from one block to another block of the same program. Okay, so we know that jumping is not desirable, but when we do multi-threading we are doing jumping, right? So because of multi-threading, your program may generate lots of errors. Okay, so error को avoid करने के लिए we can handle exceptions. Okay, that's why those of you who might be using NetBeans and all, or those of you who have done Python या फिर कोई ऐसा software use कर रहे हैं, or you have used or are using, wherein while executing whatever you are doing, okay, for example if you're doing latex also, whatever you are doing, what happens is your program executes successfully, but it generates a lots of warning. Okay, so prior to exception handling we did not have the concept of warning, it was error only, and your program would misbehave and it would not continue to execute. But warnings are such things which are handled by the software as an exception, and it is being given to you that you have done something wrong, but it has been handled. So despite the warning, you can continue to execute your program. So that is handling your exceptions beautifully. Okay, only if there is an error, then your program will not execute. And because now we are jumping from one subprogram to another subprogram, what are we doing is, you just imagine, you just try to understand here, if I have this block of code here, another block of code here, and another and third block of code here, and I'm continuously jumping from here to here, jumping from here to here, and then from this one to this one. My program is jumping continuously from one subprogram to another. So what is happening here is, let us name this block as 1, this is 2, and this as 3. So now consider it was to execute for 10 iterations. So now when, let us say, 3 iterations of this one completed, we move from block 1 to block 3. So can I say that in block 1, after 3 iteration, though it had a total of 10 iteration, but because of the concept of or implementation of multi-threading, an interrupt occurred here, and the program flow jumped from first subprogram to third subprogram. Yes, we can say an interrupt has occurred. So because of that, many a times when you use methods like sleep, wait, notify all, what else, yield, stop, etc., it may generate some type of interrupt. Okay, इसमें कुछ interrupt हो सकते हैं. So in that case, what you can do is, you can again put those methods or logic of your code inside a try block. Okay, inside a try block, and we have already studied the type of exception. Okay, this type of exception, ये मैंने आपको पहले ही जब मैं exception पढ़ा रही थी, I've given you a list of I think 12 or 13 most common form of exception, and I told you the inter, interrupted exception. It may occur. So what you can do is, you can put that logic of the code inside try block, and you can catch this exception. Okay, and you can catch this exception like this. You already know. ये मैंने आपको पढ़ा चुकी है. It happens when you continue, your program keeps jumping from one subprogram to another, resulting in lots of interruption. Okay, so these are the various ways of handling thread exceptions. Okay, you can have illegal argument exception. What is illegal argument exception? I've already told you. There is a thread. Okay, there is a thread, or there's a logic that is generating some wrong or syntactically wrong form of arguments it is reading. Okay, so in that case, your thread will generate argument exception. So you can go for illegal argument exception. Okay, so this is the various types of thread exception that you may get. So is it clear? If it happens, what you have to do, simply you can use try catch block, or you can throw an exception. Okay, so is it clear, the thread exception? Class, is it clear, the thread exception? Class, am I audible? Okay. Okay, so does any one of you have the program screenshot ऐसा कुछ from yesterday's lecture where I wrote that program? किसी के पास है? Do you have the screenshot, or have you written the program in your laptop? Does any one of you have that? Because if you have it, you can email me. I need not write that program again. I can make some changes in that itself. Yes? Does anyone has it or not? Yes or no? प्रवास, ओके. प्रवास, आप मुझे ईमेल कर सकते हो. प्रवास और राम, आप अभी ईमेल कर सकते हो मुझे. ओके, प्लीज कर दो, तब तक मैं अपना नोटपैड ये रेडी कर लेती हूँ. Please email me. The next topic that we are going to study is thread priority. Okay, so this is the next topic that we are going to study in today's lecture. Okay, so let me first explain to you what is trade priority. Okay, now we have written, I myself wrote two programs for multi-trading, and I asked you to make the changes, or I gave you two aims for multi-trading. Okay, मैंने दो aim दिया, दो program किया, तो a total by today we have written four multi-trading based programs. Okay, so in all these four multi-threaded based programs, what we saw was the flow was happening on its own. Okay, but what happens is many a times when there is multi-threading, we need, let us say there is thread A, thread B, thread C. Somehow thread C gets control of all of your resources, and in thread C, let us say there are 100 of iterations, and thread C gets to complete all the 100 iterations. Okay, but there was thread A which needed to do the task first. Okay, for example, let us create a situation. You have your class at 10, and another batch, your fifth semester seniors have their classes from 11. So there is only one bus that starts from MG Marg at 9. Okay, but that bus is filled by all your seniors. In that case, what happens is, though you had your class at 10, you will reach your classes late. So what can we do? What the bus conductor can do is, considering that you have your class at 10, he or she can vacate all the vacate the bus. Okay, and then you can be given the priority, considering that there is a situation that you have to reach early. Similarly, there are various applications area wherein we need a particular thread to be given more priority. Okay, more priority. For example, let us take one more example of e-commerce website. You are doing some Diwali shopping in Myntra. Okay, so there are 1 lakh users currently logged into Myntra website. They are doing some purchasing. Now, out of 1 lakh, there are, and let us say that your Myntra is designed in a way that it can handle a traffic of only, let us say, 10,000 user. Okay, it can handle a traffic of only 10,000 user at a time. So now there are, let us say, out of 1 lakh, 10,000 needs to make the payment. Considering that payment is a very crucial part of the program, when 10,000 user is ready to make the payment, out of 1 lakh user that is currently logged in, this thread that from the Myntra web page, which is responsible for making the payment, can be given higher priority. So when these three threads moves from scrolling over the various options from the Myntra, when they move to the payment gateway, out of 1 lakh, now 10,000 of these sub threads from the Myntra page will be given higher priority, that in case traffic is high and the server is in the verge of collapsing, then this 10,000 is given the utmost priority. All the 90,000 suffer from the network traffic issue, but not the 10,000. क्यों? क्योंकि transaction is a very I don't know if you have studied DBMS or not. Then in DBM, or if you study in future, pay attention to the lecture where teacher will be teaching you sequential transactions or transactions. Okay, yeah, topic आता है where you will be taught about handling multiple transactions in a database. Okay, so that is the part of the code which is given highest priority. Okay, in such cases, what to do when we have different blocks of code executing simultaneously? In that case, we can assign some thread priority. Whichever thread will have the highest priority, that thread gets to execute first. For example, A, B, and C I had earlier. C was submitted first, so C starts executing. But after, let us say, it has hundreds of execution, each execution takes 1 minute of time. After 2 minutes, let us say there is block A that has been subprogram A, that is your dusra thread A, that is submitted after 2 minutes with highest priority. Seeing that it has the highest priority, the control of execution will be taken from subprogram C and it will be given to subprogram A, because now it has been given the highest priority. So how do we assign priority? We assign priority with the syntax. We assign priority with the syntax. If you want to give minimum priority, we use the syntax minimum P R Priority. We write minimum priority, and the minimum priority is 1. Okay, minimum is the 1. You can assign 2, 3, 4, 5. If you have tens of threads, you can go from 1 to 10. The minimum value is always 1, the maximum is 10. We do not have lesser than a 1 and higher than 10. You have to keep the range from 1 to 10 only. Okay, so if there are two threads to which you want to give minimum priority, then to one of the thread you give 1, to other thread you give 2. Okay, so that means the second thread has a bit more priority than the first because it has the minimum priority value 2. So the list is your 1. Okay, so now normal priority, you can also give norm. Okay, you can also give norm underscore priority. So when you write down norm priority to any thread, if you write min priority, that means it has the value 1. If you write down norm priority, that means it has the value 5. Okay, so if you write down max priority, so if you're writing max priority, then the value is 10. But if you do not want to use just the min, norm and max, you want to use the value in between, then you have to use these numbers. However, if there are only 3 threads, out of 3 you want to assign min, norm, max, you can directly use min priority irrespective of this value. So when you write min, that means the value is 1. When you write norm, that means the value is 5. Or what you can do is, let us say there is one thread, you want to give the priority more than the normal priority. So what you can do is norm priority plus 1. So when you do norm priority plus 1, that means its value becomes equals to 6, because the value of normal is by default 5 and you are adding to that 5 1. That means now the current thread has the priority 6. Okay, so now is the theory clear? Can we go to the coding? If you have understood the thread priority, the theory behind thread priority, yes, no, write down quickly. Okay, okay, so I've got, ma'am, can you repeat again? Okay, Pravesh, what I'll do is I'll repeat in the code itself now. Okay, मैं कोड में आपको फिर से एक्सप्लेन करूंगी. अगर कोड में भी समझ में नहीं आया प्रवेश, then you ask me again, I'll repeat again. Okay, so you can take this program, okay, or you can take screenshot, you can write it on your own, whatever you wish to. So this is your another thread. So let us use that same program. So I will save my time. As of now, from this program, please do not consider this slip and all. Okay, I'm not paying attention to this one. Slip, stop, and all anything. I'm not paying attention to it. You can just ignore this part. Just want to focus on only the priority part. Okay, so I don't need to explain this program, right? We have already discussed this program in the last lecture. So now what I'm going to do is, now I'm going to assign priority. Okay, so I hope till here the program is clear to everyone. We had created in the last lecture only, we had created 3 multiple threads. A total there are 4 multi threads in this program. The first thread is class A, the second thread is class B, the third thread is class C. In first thread, we are printing the value from I is equals to 0 to I less than 5. Okay. Let's remove this part to avoid any kinds of doubt. Okay. So second program is a simple program that prints the multiplication table of 2. The third prints the multiplication table of 3. So now there, for some reason, let us say this thread needs priority. So how do we do that? Okay, let's do that. You put braces here on your own. So now I'm writing the main function. Main function is where I assign. Main function is where I assign the thread priority. Okay. Okay. So I have here main function. Okay. So now I have the main class here. In main class, I've started all the thread. Okay. So I've started all the thread. Now we will assign. Give me some minute. I think my computer has hung. My laptop is not responding properly, so please remove this brace from here. We don't close this brace here right now. Okay, because the main class is not completed. Now pay attention. I have started all the thread. Okay, sorry, I cannot start. I have to just create the thread. I have to create the thread, sorry. So now thread A has been created. Thread A has been created. Okay, the syntax is wrong. We'll have to rewrite this. इनका syntax wrong है. So now I'm going to create the first thread. I think the name is A1 A1 equals to new A, B1 equals to new B. We know the syntax already. This is the codes thread. C1 equals to new C. So by this we have declared the objects of each thread. Okay, we have declared the object of all the three threads. So now with this object A1, B1 and C1, we can assign the priority. Pay attention. Okay, here you should not start the thread, because if you will start the thread is already started. How can you assign priority? No, you cannot start. You have to just create only. So this is not starting, this is just creating the thread. Okay, so यहाँ पे आपने declare कर दिया, यहाँ पे आपने with this object you have invoked the thread, instantiated the thread. That is what we do with the objects. Okay, now for how do we assign priority now? We assign priority, pay attention here, by let us say to third thread. Okay, let us say though we have created this one first, but we want to give the highest priority to the last thread. So what do? I write down the name of the object here, C1 dot. Okay, if I want to assign the prior, there are two methods. One is get, to get the information, whatever the current thread, which what type of priority the current thread has. If you want to know that, you have to write the method get. But instead of getting the information, if you want to set the information, you'll have to use the set method. Okay, so what do you want to set? You want to set you want to set the priority to this thread. Okay, you want to set priority to this thread. To thread C, what do you want to set the priority? You want to set maximum priority. Okay, you want to set maximum priority. But look at here, we are still not done. Why are we not done? Because this max priority, the definition DEF of this max priority is present in the thread class. So we have to call it with the dot operator. So I call the method, I call the class thread. From the thread, I have the definition of max priority there. So thread dot max priority. So with this one, to thread C, maximum priority has been assigned now. Okay, thread C को maximum priority हमने assign कर दिया. So let us learn other priority as well. Okay, so this is how we assign priority. So let us assign priorities to some other thread as well. Okay, C maximum priority. Let us assign to thread B now. Again, what do? I do set priority. Set ka S will be small, P will be capital. Okay, so now I want to set priority to be. So now what do I want to set priority? Okay, B को मैं कौन सा priority देना चाहती हूँ? Now let us say the whatever priority is given to A. Now I don't know what priority is given to A. So now whatever priority is given to A, I want to give B the priority more than the priority of A. Listen carefully. अगर मुझे B को जो भी priority देना है वो हो, whatever priority I want to give to B, if it's direct like this one, to C I wanted to give the maximum priority. So I wrote thread dot max priority. To C, to B or A, if I want to give the minimum priority, so I write down B1 dot set priority, thread dot mean priority or thread dot norm priority. But instead of this mean max, what I want is I want the priority to be given with respect to comparison. उसको उससे ज़्यादा priority देना है. In that case, how do we do it? In that case, we assign priority like this. Let us assign priority to be more than the priority of A. Priority to be more than the priority of A. So what I do? I write down here C dot get priority. Okay, C dot get priority of A1. Okay, get the priority of A1 and then get P or PRIORITY. Get the priority of A1 Okay, and then whatever is the priority of a1, assign one more priority to it. That means if to a1 you will assign priority 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever is it, it will have, b will have, sorry, c will have, oh, let's not do it c here, let's do it b, because c I've already done. So now whatever will be the, c has been given maximum priority, that means it has 10. Now no other thread can have priority greater than c, because the highest limit is 10. So C1 has already acquired that. Now neither A nor B can have the maximum priority. The priority can only range from 1 to 9 in case of A and B. But I want to make sure that B has more priority than that of A. Okay, so in that case, what do? I do B1 dot iska B1 dot, okay, get the priority of A, get the priority of A and assign 1 to 1. Okay, assign more than that of b1. Okay, so now to a, now again if you want to assign something, a dot, what we can do is a dot priority, set priority, now you already know. Minimum priority. Okay, so now a1 को मैंने minimum priority दिया, that means now a1 has priority 1. Now what does b has? Minimum priority का value क्या था? 1. 1 plus 1, now b1 has the highest priority, second highest priority of 2. That means whenever a resource is free, if all these three are fighting for, let us say, keyboard, if all of them are fighting for keyboard from the same time, then c1 will be given the keyboard first, and then b, yes, b will be given the keyboard second, and a will be given keyboard third. Even if c1 entered in the queue last, अगर c last में आया queue में, फिर भी because it has the maximum priority, it will be given the keyboard. Okay, so after this, you already know what you can do is you can write your suitable SOP, whatever you want, and then you can SOP you want, and then what you can do, you can start your thread like this. This one I'm not going to write because you already know. Whatever you want to print message, you print in the SOP, and then you can start your thread. A1 dot start, A2 dot start, A1 dot start, B1 dot start, you start your thread, and then C1 dot start. See here, in this case also, I have started thread 1 first. I have started A first, but A has the minimum priority. A has the minimum priority. So unless B1 and C1 is invoked, A1 will continue to print the message. A print करेगा, लेकिन जैसे ही B और C invoke हुआ, because C has the highest priority, C will get to execute the first. So what was the content of the C? What was the content of the C? I think the content of the C was printing the multiple of 3. So 3 will continue to print it because it has the maximum priority. 3 का पूरा table print होगा, then B will get the priority, then A will get the priority. लेकिन unless because A is invoked first, तो पहले A का कुछ print होता रहेगा जब तक कि B और C में हम ना पहुंचे. Okay, so this is about your thread priority, assigning thread priority from the range 1 to 10. Is it clear? प्रवेश, अभी आपको क्लियर हुआ? अगर नहीं तो मैं फिर से एक्सप्लेन करूंगी. Okay, others, is it clear? Okay, Pravesh, other than Pravesh, is it clear to everyone? मैम B1 वाला नहीं हुआ. ओके, B1 वाला क्या नहीं हुआ? क्या नहीं, B1 समझ में नहीं आया या क्या B1 स्टार्ट नहीं हुआ क्या? राम रे B1 डॉट गेट प्रायोरिटी, क्या राम B1 डॉट गेट प्रायोरिटी समझ में नहीं आया या क्या नहीं हुआ? अच्छा वेट, देखती हूँ मैं कोड। अच्छा यहाँ पे सॉरी, यहाँ पे सेट प्रायोरिटी होगा। ओके हाँ, ये थोड़ा गलत हो गया। Here it will be set priority. Here it will be set priority. B1 को हम set कर रहे हैं priority. Okay, set priority. Okay, यहाँ पे Ram it will be set priority here get only, because from A1 we are getting the priority and whatever is the priority we are setting it to B1. So thank you. Here होगा हमारा set priority. Okay Ram, is it clear? Okay, okay everyone. So gear up for the next topic of the day. That is your from trade only. Now this is again an important topic. Synchronization. The next topic of the day is trade synchronization. Okay, now listen to it carefully. Now when we have multiple threads, जब बहुत सारा threads होता है एक program में, फिर especially when you are playing some game, okay, when you are playing some game, there are so many threads that are executing simultaneously, and these threads needs to synchronize with one another. They need to talk to one another. They need to look after one another for various reasons. Okay, for example, if you kill an army, then only you're supposed to if you kill an enemy, then only your point is supposed to go up. If you die, then your life is supposed to go down. That means your one thread is has to be synchronized with the other. Killing of army, that sub program has to be synchronized with the increase of the point. Okay, the hero dying in the game is supposed to be synchronized with that sub program which is responsible for decreasing the number of lives you have in your game. Okay, so because of such we need our different threads to synchronize with one another. Okay, so obviously उस लेवल में तो जाके हम यहाँ पे कोडिंग पढ़ेंगे नहीं. Okay, but that is just an application area where we need to have thread synchronization. Okay, but thread synchronization, you already know synchronization means like syncing with trying to sync one with the other. So if I have like 10 threads from A1 to A10, I am trying to sync from thread 1 to thread 10 so that I can sync it with respect to various aspects, their execution, flow of execution, their priority, or maybe their scores, etc., etc. Okay, and we know that each thread have their own run and start method. Okay, so when we have one thread, okay, when one thread may try to read a record from a file while another is still writing to that file, that is one important thread. For example, the best would for in your case would be the on banking transaction. When you are withdrawing money from the ATM, and okay, and also in the mobile phone, let us say you are trying to make payment in some online e-commerce site, then if you are doing these two threads executing from two different systems, both belong to that same program, your account number, so one thread must be synchronized with the other thread. In what way? In a way that when you are making the payment or withdrawing the money from the ATM, the payment, gateway payment in others should be made some seconds of delay, so that we do not have the fund improper handling. Okay, So in this case, other example is your read and write. If there is one file, let us say there is a file saved in some cloud, okay, and you are reading from that cloud file, but right now from here I'm making some changes into that file. So every time you read, you'll get new content. So what should happen while I am writing it here? You should be stopped from reading there. Okay. The other case is if hundreds of students are reading from somewhere, then it will not be a problem. Okay. So reading, writing, updating balance and transactions, all these are different kinds of subthreads belonging to that same program which needs to be synchronized. Okay, so that process, that problem is called if there is a problem with synchronization, then we call it as synchronization problem. अगर उस synchronization में कुछ problem है, then we call it as synchronization problem. And the process by which, or the while you are writing the code to synchronize this different sub programs, we call it as synchronization. That process is called as a synchronization. If you have completed the task of synchronization, then that particular step is called as synchronized. Your thread is synchronized. Okay, so now read and write cannot happen simultaneously. Withdraw from the ATM and payment gateway in Mintra is synchronized. It cannot happen simultaneously. There definitely will be a time lapse of some seconds or minutes between these two transactions. Okay, so that is called as your synchronization. Is it clear? Synchronization, what is synchronization and why do we need synchronization? Is it clear? Class, is it clear? Synchronization. Okay, okay. So now we have uh, usually functions like, let us say you are writing some program which updates something. You're writing a program which updates something. You are, let us say you are writing you are developing a software for a restaurant. एक रेस्टोरेंट के लिए आप सॉफ्टवेयर बना रहे हो, फॉर एक बैंक के लिए आप सॉफ्टवेयर. गिव मी 1 minute. और सॉफ्टवेयर बना रहे हो. ओके, सो you are update you have developed that application successfully, or let us say you have a project going on. For that you're supposed to develop an app. You have completed the app. Okay, we know that air update is being released by the company at times. You have your phone, right? Somebody has Apple phone, somebody has Samsung. After every like 2 months, 6 months, the company releases air update छोड़ देता है to update your software. So while you are updating the software, you cannot use that particular software. Okay, वो लोग उस software के कुछ options को they block it. Okay, because that particular part is being updated right now. Or if you're doing some banking transaction, let us say you withdrew 2000 rupees from ATM. So now your account balance needs to be updated. Okay. So now that means this update function is very important and we need to synchronize. So whatever method is there in your Java में आप सॉफ्टवेयर लिखते हुए जो भी ऐसा मेथड है जिसमें कुछ चेंजेस होने के दौरान you cannot allow user to access that particular method, you write that as pardon me for the spelling, synchronized. So now this method void update has been synchronized. It is synchronized. Okay, so you have to write it as synchronized. That means whatever logic code here is there, whatever code is here, so code is here. Okay, now this code here has to be synchronized with that other logic of the code. Like यहाँ पे if you are updating balance, for example, let us say balance balance equals to, update कैसे करोगे, how will you update your account balance? Now your new, let us say new balance is equals to old balance minus whatever you have withdrawn with, let us say amount with DRAWN withdrawn. So now this is your update. You needed to update this new balance. So new balance is updated with old balance minus amount withdrawn right now. So as long as this is being performed, other part of the code wherein we have this new balance, old balance, this will not be touched. You cannot enter into that. That means you cannot make some payment into that Myntra website. For that, we need to write down the keyword synchronize. But there is a problem with the synchronization. Okay, so okay, we have understood synchronization. We have understood the why do we need synchronization. We have also studied the various application area of synchronization. We have also studied the syntax for synchronization. ओके हमने समझ में तो आया, ये बहुत ही ज़रूरी है बहुत सारे एप्लीकेशंस में, गेम्स में, बैंक्स में, लेकिन इसके साथ एक प्रॉब्लम आता है. ओके, एंड द प्रॉब्लम इज कॉल्ड एज the problem is called as the problem. You have already heard about this problem in operating system. The problem of deadlock. The problem of deadlock. So whenever you do synchronization, you have to pay attention. आपको ध्यान देना होगा that your synchronization to solve the problem of disparity in the funds, disparity, ambiguity in this. We do synchronization to avoid the problem of disparity in the funds, the ambiguity in the software. Okay, so if we are to do the synchronization to solve the problem of disparity and ambiguity, you have to make sure the synchronization is done in a way that you don't enter into deadlock. आपको ध्यान देना होगा कि आप deadlock पे enter ना करो. So how can you enter into deadlock now? So let me write down one skeleton program to understand that. Okay. See, it's a lots of information, very less to write. Okay, बहुत सारा information है, लेकिन लिखने के लिए बहुत सारे कम चीजें हैं. I have to give lots of information here. So if there is any point that you don't understand, you ask me meantime. Don't ask me at the end. It will not be possible for me to explain from the beginning. Okay, so I'm not going to write that code again. I'm just gonna use a skeleton program. So I have a thread A here. Okay, so now let us say I have a thread A here. So in this thread A, let us say I have the logic of the code wherein I need to synchronize that with some other part of the code. Let us say we are doing the read and write of the file that I just explained. मैंने थोड़ी देर पहले आपको synchronization के लिए read and write वाला application explain किया था. So just keep that in mind. So I have here synchronized. Okay, synchronized. There is method. To method 2, I have synchronized something. Okay, to method 2, I have synchronized something. So inside method 2, what I have done is synchronized method 1. Okay, inside I have some statements here. I have here some logic of the code. I have closed method 1. Okay, so I've closed method 2 here. So I've created one thread. मैंने एक thread बनाया A. Okay, thread बनाया. You know how to create a thread. Class A extends thread. So for shortcut only I'm writing thread A. फिर आप जब code करो thread A मत लिखना, it will give you error. You have to write class A extends thread. Okay. So I've created a thread which has a method somewhere, and that method 2 has to be synchronized to method 1. So I've done that. Okay. So now I have another thread. I have here another thread. Thread B extends thread. Okay. So now your thread B again has a method synchronized method 1. Okay, synchronized method 1. Pardon me for the spelling. Synchronized method 2. I have here some code. I have closed method 2. I have closed method 1. Now you need to pay attention here. Now this results in deadlock. How? I have one thread. Okay, so let us say I have one. Let us say, consider a situation wherein this program is being executed in the computer where it has only one printer and one keyboard. One printer and one keyboard. Now let us say method 1. Okay, method 1 take some input from the keyboard. Let us say the command, we do not have mouse, let us say, so we have only control P. Print के लिए command दे रहा है control P, that is there in method 1. After it receives control P, method 2 is responsible for printing. So obviously we needed to synchronize these two, क्योंकि with the print command only we can print it. But the situation here is we had only one keyboard and method 1, okay, and method 1 has taken the keyboard and method 2 has taken the printer. Okay, so now method 1 is in thread 1, method 2 is in thread A. Similarly, thread B has method 1 and method 2. Now if you will see here, if you will go inside this thread, you can see here this one has occupied keyboard. Okay, so this will go inside keyboard here. Okay, it will wait for printer because it has got the command. Now it needs to print. But the problem here is thread B has also started. Okay, so problem here is thread B has a second. So the problem here is thread B has started, and we know that P method 2 needed the printer. So method 2 has acquired the printer here. And for this thread or this execution to complete, it needed keyboard. So if you remember the three situation of the deadlock in operating system, you know that to break the deadlock, what do we need? All of them either needs to release their resources. And why does the deadlock occurs? Because every process in the program has acquired some resources and are waiting for some resources to be freed. So everyone has acquired something, everybody is waiting for something to be released. So nobody releases anything, everybody enters into deadlock. That is what for different processes we have studied in operating system. Same situation arises here. So why? Because this is the designing fault of the programmer. So when programmer designs uses synchronization, they should make sure they do not enter into deadlock. और deadlock क्या है? Enter कैसे होता है? We have studied in operating system. I'm not explaining here. I'm just telling you this leads to the deadlock problem. So in competitive exam, you will be given examples like this with synchronization. So you will be asked, in this particular situation, will deadlock occur or not? Okay, और फिर deadlock के लिए जो चार situation है, they will give you that and they will ask you what type of deadlock situation occurs here. Okay, that we are not to discuss here. I've already explained in operating system. So मैं फिर से एक बार ये synchronization का problem explain कर रही हूँ. You are the developer of the software. You needed to synchronize two methods, method 1 and method 2. Why? Because method 2 is responsible for printing, and you can only print if you receive command from method 1, the print command from the keyboard. Okay, but you did not pay attention to your software, and to synchronize these two, you made a synchronization problem. How? You put that method or arrange that method in such a way, and you had only one copy of each resources. That now when synchronize, it acquires printer. Okay, it acquires printer, it enters here, it looks for the keyboard, so it is waiting for keyboard. So it is because it is waiting for the keyboard, it thinks that because it is waiting for keyboard, a wait situation has occurred, so the process goes to another thread. So it says while it is in waiting mode, I will execute my thread B. So it goes to the thread B. Okay, it goes to the thread B, it sees that it has acquired the keyboard. Okay, it has acquired the keyboard, so it enters into another method, it sees that it needs printer. Okay, now printer is acquired by this one and it is not releasing it, so again it waits, it enters into waiting. So it thinks that now while it is waiting for printer, I will go and execute thread A. So it sees it has acquired printer, it is waiting for keyboard. So now this will go on for infinite time, and you have created a deadlock situation here. So this is the problem of synchronization, that is deadlock, which may occur, and the programmer has to make sure that in their software while using synchronization, they do not create the deadlock. Is it clear to everyone? Class, is it clear to everyone? Okay. Thank you, Chandi. Thank you, Ridhiman. Thank you, Rajesh. Okay, thank you, Bhumika. Okay, so now you have understood. Okay, so before I explain another, before we start writing program, let me explain one more logic. Sorry, one more topic of your threading, and then we'll write one small code to understand the both. Okay. Next is your suspend, resume, and stop the thread. Suspend, resume, and stop the thread. Okay. So now your Java supports these three things. Okay, Java supports your suspend, resume, and stop thread. Now, before I start explaining what is that, you need to pay attention that if you are using older version of Java, then whatever I'm going to do in code, instead of using flags, you will have to use method. Okay, because old version of Java supported suspend, resume, and your stop method. For example, like resume will, if you will use that resume method just like the way you used sleep method, it will put that currently waiting thread into execution mode. It will start from where it has been paused, directly resume, just directly resume kar sakte ho. Similarly, whatever thread is executing right now, the moment it sees suspend method, it will suspend its execution if you are using old version of Java. But in the new version of Java, these methods, resume, suspend, and stop, has been deprecated. So those who are getting error in stop also, you need to pay attention. It is not because there is an error or fault in your program, it is because this method has been deprecated. So for that, in newest version of Java, instead of using methods, what do we do? It has been now the stop, resume, and suspend method has been used as has been defined as a boolean flag. Okay, so boolean flag. So what we can do is to stop something, you can do stop. Okay, first of all, you'll declare the data type as your boolean, and then you can do stop flag. So we know that boolean takes only two value, true or false. So when you have stop flag, if you will mark it as true, that means currently executing thread has to stop. So if you will update it as false, that means it has the value false. That means that currently executing thread need not stop from executing. Rather, it can continue to execute. Okay, so instead of stop, resume, and suspend method, and nowadays the Java has updated it as Boolean values. Okay, so Boolean flag. So Boolean only takes two values. Okay, so the next is, what does suspend do? Suspend, whatever thread is currently in execution, it will suspend it forever. Once it is suspended, you cannot start it. Okay. Resume is, if you have stopped that thread for quite some time. Okay, like it's like pausing your movie. So you pause it, and when you resume it, it starts from where it had stopped. For example, if your thread had to print from 0 to 10, if it has been paused at 0 to 5, it will resume from 6 to 10. Stop means you are stopping that thread from execution. Okay, I think, give me 1 minute. Sorry. Stop, suspend, what it does is it will not stop the thread permanently. Suspend will stop the thread temporarily. Okay, like from 1 to 5 you wanted it to execute, and you want to stop for some time and then resume. Okay, so suspend, it stops the thread temporarily. Resume, it starts from where it was suspended earlier. Stop, it stops that thread permanently. It's like killing the thread. Okay, so have you understood the theory behind? If yes, let's do one program to understand the same. Write in the chat box, do you have you understand it? Stop, resume, and stopping, suspending, and resuming the thread. Have you understood it? Okay. So let's understand whatever concepts that we have studied so far. This code is also available in your Balaguru Swami book. Okay. So बालागुरु स्वामी में ये अवेलेबल है, आप वहां से कर सकते हैं. अरे so let us do, I have, what the hell is happening? Okay, so I'm creating a class named inter. Okay. Okay, so before I do it, let's do it. Let me explain one more concept and implement all the three concepts here. So in that way, I'll save my time. Okay. I told you in my previous lecture and in the beginning of today's lecture that to do thread, multi-thread in Java, we have two ways. Okay. One is using the thread class itself. One is using the thread class itself. Another is using the runnable thread. Okay, runnable thread. One is using the thread, another is using the runnable thread. Now the difference is, thread is a class and runnable is an interface, and already know the difference between these two. So what is the technical difference between thread and runnable? The theoretical technical difference between thread and runnable, इसके अंदर ये thread class के अंदर we have methods like stop, notify all, sleep, yield, wait, um, uh, wait, और बहुत सारे ऐसे methods हैं. Okay, so runnable does not have all of them, and to thread we have more than these methods. We have a very rich collections of methods and priorities in thread. For example, the thread class supports min, max, normal. Okay, and I'm not sure अभी का recent runnable में क्या क्या होता है, लेकिन पुराने version of runnable में we could not do priority. We could not do priority. Okay, so if you have to do priority, you cannot use runnable, you have to use thread. Okay, so I don't know in the latest versions what do we have. So for your exam purpose, what you can do is you can study the inside difference between thread and runnable. Exam ke liye, that is your self study part. Okay, so what we are going to do is, for thread we have written I think 4 programs so far. So to understand the how to use runnable, to understand stop, resume and suspend, and also to understand synchronize, ये तीनों को mix करके we are going to write one program now. Okay, so runnable, so this way we'll also cover the runnable thread. Okay, so let's get going. If you have any doubt, unmute yourself and ask me. Okay, so let's create a class named inter, and I already told you implement. I already told you runnable is an interface. So when we do interface, we cannot write the extents, we have to write the implements. We have already studied that. Okay, so I have here runnable. If you have doubt, you ask me. Okay, so let us create an object of the thread class thread ps, because now we are doing an interface. See here, runnable एक interface है, इसको execute करने के लिए हमें thread class का object चाहिए. Pay attention here. If I had done class inter extends thread, now because thread is a full-fledged class, I need not do this one here. But because I am doing an interface thread here, so to execute this interface thread, I need a full-fledged class thread. So what I'm doing here is I'm creating an object of the thread class. ये जो thread inbuilt class है, मैं उसका object बना रही हूँ here. Okay, so that I can execute that runnable interface. Okay, so let me create boolean suspend flag and your stop flag. Okay, boolean suspend flag and boolean stop flag. I hope यहाँ तक clear है. Okay, अगर कुछ doubt है तो ask me then and there. So now we need a method. So let us use the special method, your constructor. Okay, string a. Okay, मैंने string a करके एक special method बनाया. इंटर ए करके एक स्पेशल मेथड बनाया है मैंने. ओके, so let us make this do something. So what this constructor is doing is, this constructor is initializing my thread class का method equals to new thread we have already studied this method, so that we can use that same value string a variable ही हम use कर सकते हैं. Okay, I had here created the thread का object. Here I have instantiated it. To instantiate it, it is reading a parameter here, string a का parameter. So I want to use this same variable. Okay, so if you want to use that same variable for instantiating, what do? We use this method. That is what we have done here. Okay, so now what I want to do here is, I want to now initiate. Oh, give me 1 minute. Thank you. Okay, so now that is what I have done here. So now to suspend and stop flag. Okay, here we have done the declaration. Always remember, when you do suspend, stop and your resume, you'll have to initialize it with some initial values. and by default we suggest always the initial values should be false. ओके उस थ्रेड को हमें हमेशा पहले सॉरी 3 मेथड्स को हमें हमेशा false initialize करना है. Okay, so what I do here is I'm gonna initialize my suspend flag equals to false. I'm going to initialize my stop flag equals to false unless you need it true true condition. By default you should always initialize it with false. Okay, so now I'm going to start my start thread so that I can execute the interface. Okay, so now this thread has been started here. Okay, so we can execute this runnable interface now. Okay, so now let us continue. Okay, so now we need our public void run. We need our public void run. Okay, put this in try. Okay, I'm going to put it in try. I'm going to do integer j is equals to 1. Let us make this thread do something. Okay, let's move here. I have here void run. Okay, so now okay, so let's go here. I need you to pay attention here now. Okay, I've done nothing. What I want to do is I want to run this thread as far as 20 times. It's like for loop. मैं for loop चाहती हूँ कि it iterates from 1 to 20. Okay, but then I also need to teach you the synchronization. Okay, so whatever we want to treat it as multi-thread, we put that inside run. Okay, so for loop, what I've done is I've initialized this j equals to 1. So what I'm gonna do? We have already done it using for loop. So we have here, let us say the while. Okay, so this while will go as long as this j is less than equals to 20. Okay, this j is less than equals to 20. So let us synchronize it. Okay, let us synchronize it. Synchronized this function. Let us synchronize this function. Okay, let us synchronize it with, see here I have the run function here because the synchronization generates error. अब जब भी synchronize करोगे, you put it inside try catch block. Otherwise, if you will not put it inside try catch block, it will give you interrupted error. Okay, interruption का error दिखाएगा because we are jumping from here to there. So we want to avoid that error, interruption error. So we are going to catch that error as an exception. So we put this inside try block. Till here it is not important. Okay, because it's not a for while we are using. So हमने j को बाहर ही increment कर दिया है, declare an increment. Okay, so we want this j to go from 0 to 1 to less than 20. That means 90, and we want to synchronize it. Okay, till here I hope it's clear. I want to synchronize it while my suspend flag. I want to synchronize it while my suspend flag is false. Okay, while see here suspend flag, what is the value of suspend flag right here? The value of suspend flag here is false. So as long as my suspend is false, I want to continue to print this j. Okay, and then I have here wait if anything happens, and then I close here the suspend flag. Okay, I close my suspend flag here. Till here my suspend is false. That means it will continue to print because I am not suspending this thread as of now. Okay, so now if stop flag, but see here stop flag is still what? Stop flag is still false. लेकिन अगर stop flag आया, okay, if stop flag, if means if this is true, okay, if this is true then you break. If it is true, then you break. But in our condition, will this execution of 20 break? No. Why? Because stop flag here, we have initialized it with false. But instead of false, if you have done your stop flag as true here, so by the time this code reaches in here, the stop flag will be true. That means this if condition becomes true, and whatever is the execution, it will stop and it will come out. But in this case, as of now, हम करेंगे इसको ट्रू भी अभी थोड़ी देर में, लेकिन अभी तक हमारा ये फॉल्स है. सो इफ कंडीशन इज फॉल्स, सो इट विल नॉट ब्रेक एज ऑफ नाउ. ओके, सो आई क्लोज, कितने ब्रेसेस है? सो आई क्लोज माय दिस वन, so I close my this one and I close my this one. Okay, so all has been closed. So this try is closed now here. So I will catch my interrupt error. Interrupted exception. Okay, interrupted exception. I've closed my interrupted exception. If you want to print something here, okay, if you want to print something here, you can write down SOP of your own. Okay, so I don't want to write anything here. Okay, so I can leave it like this. अगर आपको कुछ मैसेज प्रिंट करना है, you already know, you can print here. Okay, like thread exception had occurred, there was some interruption, anything like this. Okay, or let's write down interrupt occurred. Done. Okay, so my this try and this catch is there. So as far as still here is concerned, both of this, we are not suspending the flag, it will not stop because both of them are false. Both of them are false. Okay, so now let us turn it true and let us see what happens. Okay, let us turn it true. So let me use different color for it. Okay, so now it will be synchronized. We have synchronized this, so it has to be synchronized with some other method. Okay, so we are synchronizing this part with this one. Okay, so synchronized. Okay, synchronized. My method, let us say synchronized void. I have suspend and flag. Synchronized the suspend one. Okay, synchronize this suspend method. You want to synchronize this suspend method. Okay, so I have here, I have to turn this suspend flag equals to true now. Okay, I have to suspend, I'm converting this into true now. Okay, so when I have, see here, see earlier the suspend flag was false. So when this suspend flag is false, when this while suspend flag, that means while it is false, see here suspend flag is false here. So जब ये suspend flag false हो रहा है, what is while doing? We are waiting. And if stop flag is there, if stop flag is false, okay, we do nothing. But if it is true, we then break. Okay, so while it is false, was waiting. So now it is true. So this synchronized this. So what is this synchronized this? Now this method, it will call this method now. Okay, so let us design this for the suspend flag is now my true. Okay, so I have here now synchronized. Okay, synchronized void the the resume. We are seeing the usage of resume, suspend, and stop here. Okay. So I have done here resume. So what I'm gonna do here is in the resume, I want to turn my suspend flag that I earlier turned true to be false. That means now I'm resuming. Okay, so this is how we do resume. For resume, we did not create a boolean. Earlier, my suspend flag was true. So if it has executed till 5, so now I have converted it into false. That means from the moment it turns false, that means it is no more suspended. If it is no more suspended, that means what is it? It has resumed its work. Okay, so now after it resumes its work, it will have to wake up that another thread. So after you resume, you will always have to remember to notify. Okay, it is like joining the university, coming to the class, you attend the class while the teacher is taking your attendance. If you don't give your attendance, if you don't give your attendance, then you will be marked absent. So though you have resumed your classes, you will also have to notify your authority. How do you notify in case of threat? You notify it with the notify class, sorry, method. Okay, so that is what we have done here. Okay, so let us learn how do we do the stop. Okay, synchronized the stop method we are trying. Okay, so let us do now in stop. Let us turn this suspend flag. Make sure the suspend flag. You can avoid this line also. Suspend flag. We are just making sure it's false. Okay, by the somehow if it refers to here and it becomes true, then we will not be able to stop. Okay, because we are making it stop, so we are just making sure that it is false. If you want, you can avoid it. Okay, suspend flag as false. So now suspend is false, so we turn this stop flag equals to true. So now the thread has been stopped. So now as it is stopped, we'll again have to notify. If you leave the university, you will have to notify, otherwise you will not get your certificates. So that is what we have done. After stopping the thread, we'll have to notify, and we have notified here. Okay, so simple. Initially we make sure all the flags were false so that it can continue with the execution, and we can perform stop, resume, and suspend only if something is in action. And we made sure from this part of the code everything is in action, and if by chance any error occurs, we made sure it is being caught by the try catch block. Okay, after making sure it is in execution by turning all the flags as false, what we did is later on we turned them true. That means we executed the suspend flag, we executed the resume flag, we executed the stop flag. Okay, so now let's write the main function. Let us execute this entire program now. Everyone is, the network is up. Let's check. Okay, so I'm gonna write down my main function to execute the entire program. So I have here you already know this, that's why I'm not saying anything. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to start the program. Okay, I want to execute this program. So this may give me some errors. So to make sure no error occurs, let us put them in try block. Okay, let us create an instance of this inter class. See here, I've created an space. We didn't use it wisely. We had an inter class here, and to execute it, we need to create an instance of it. So let us do that. Okay, so I have here inter for the inter class. I create what are we doing here? I've named this class as inter because we are also doing notify means inter thread communication. हम different threads के बीच में भी communicate कर रहे हैं. Okay, it is multi-thread. How is it multi-thread? We have two threads here. One the main function. Okay, one the main function and other this thread that we have created. There are two threads. Okay, so inter in. So inter thread communication के लिए I've created an object inter in. You already know inter in equals inter in equals to inter. If you remember, it takes some string. Okay, it takes some string. Let us give this new string as because we are doing inter thread. So let us write in as inter thread. Okay, so the string is inter thread. I've given. Okay, so let us print something. System. Let me save some space. Dot out dot println. Okay, I've done SOP here. My let us say thread has been created. Thread um, thread stop resume suspend created. Okay, we have created the system. No. We have started the thread. No, we have not created it. Thread inter created. The first thread. Okay, the first thread here because we have instantiated is object. That means the class has been instantiated. That means it is now created. Okay, so it is now created. So what do I do? The first class, the thread class now has been created successfully the moment we instantiated its constructor here. Constructor को instantiate करने के बाद this inter thread has been created. So that is what I'm displaying here. Thread inter created, thread inter created, and let us say started. We have the start method above. Okay, so after we create the inter thread, let it put into sleep. Let it put into sleep for let me put down 5000 milliseconds so that when you execute this program you can feel that the output is printed after every 5 seconds. Okay, so it sleeps for 5 seconds. So now it has been put into sleep. The thread has been put into sleep. Okay, so now with this object, see here, we have created various methods here. See here the stop method, write down void here. Okay, class, I have missed the prototype of this method here, void. Please write down void. Okay, so here we have created three methods to display the usage of stop flag. I have created the stop method to display the functioning of resume. ओके यहाँ पे resume कर रहे हैं हम लोग, यहाँ पे true था, false कर दिया suspend को, that means it has resumed. So to showcase the functionality of resume, I've created the resume method here to showcase the importance, like how do we do suspend. I've created the suspend method here. So we have three methods here, and this with this method, sorry, this object in, okay, the object name in which belongs to this entire एक पूरा एक class है, class inter. So we will be executing these methods now. Okay, so I have here with this in, let us call the first method that I had, the suspend. The suspend. So now this method will be executed. Now suspend flag is true. Now your suspend will be executed. That means the method will be suspended here. Okay, so this method, it has been turned true. So let's display something so that you will understand. The thread has been suspended. We have called this method the suspend. Now it is true. Hello, hello, hello. Thread has been suspended. Now this thread has been suspended. Okay. So now let us call another method. Let me put a tab here. I have called this method and I have suspended it. So I have displayed this message. Okay. So after it, let us again put the thread to sleep. Sleep for another 5 seconds now. म क्लासमा छु हौ. Let us put this thread to sleep. Okay. म क्लासमा छु, एकछिनमा गर्छु तपाईलाई ल. म क्लासमा छु, क्लास सकेर गर्छु तपाईलाई. हवस्. So now again after I've put this suspend flag has been the suspend flag has been started. Now that means the thread has been suspended. So I have displayed that message that after I invoke this method, the suspend, the thread, because the flag is because true, that means it has been suspended. So how will we know it has been suspended? So just to know the user know it has been suspended, we display a message. After displaying and calling any other method, what we are doing is we are making this thread sleep for 5 seconds, so that you can make it, you can avoid from sleeping, you can also put them into sleep. This is for your knowledge and to feel the difference if it functions or not, and if it functions, how does it function. So give noticeable amount of time here. Okay. So we have slept. So now let's call the other method. So after the suspend, we have suspended it. So after suspended, what possibly can we do? We can do two things. One, flag is being okay. So let us say you have been suspended from the class. So after you are suspended, there can be you can be there two things can be done with you. One, after your suspension is over, you may be asked to join the classes. So that is your resume, or you can be terminated forever. Okay, so if we will terminate it forever, then we'll not be able to see how does resume works. So before we terminate the method thread, let us resume it. हम resume करके भी देख लेते. Okay, so let us call the method the resume. Let us do the same thing with this resume also. Okay, so let us print system.out.println. See here, in resume, now the suspend shift. Now the suspend flag was true here. Now the suspend has been made false. That means originally the thread was suspended. Now it is no more suspended. So let us print the message here. Let us print the message here. System.out.println. So I'm gonna print here thread enter resumed for work. Okay, thread enter resumed for work. Again, let us put it into sleep. If you want, again, you can avoid this sleep. This is just to make sure that you can see it has been suspended, it has been resumed, etc. etc. Okay, so now we have called this resume also. Now last we are left with, okay, last we are left with, again you can keep on doing, you can call this suspend, again you can suspend the thread, you can again start the thread, you can suspend the thread, you can resume the thread as many times as you want. Okay, so I'm not going to do that. I'm directly going to call the stop method now. Okay, stop method, I call it. Okay, so I print this to let know that it has been stopped. Okay, the inter thread has been stopped. This is the end of the code. Okay, now but before doing, after stopping you cannot do more suspend and resume here, but if you want you can do more suspend, you can call more suspend method, and you can call more resume method as many times as you want. Okay, you can call just like the way we called here. See here, just like the way we did here, suspend and resume. You can call this as many times as you want here, but after your stop, no more suspend, no more resume. Why? Because the thread has now been killed. Okay, because the thread has now been killed. So this is the end of the code and the suspend and resume. Execute it and you see it. Okay, okay, sorry, I have a try block here. See here, मैंने यहाँ पे try भी लिखा हुआ, तो I have to write the suitable catch, so I cannot close it as of now. Let me write down the catch block. Interrupted exception. If you want, you can print some suitable message here if you wish. If you don't, you can leave it. Okay, so with this we have completed the program for your interthread, suspend, resume, everything. Okay, so is it clear? ये समझ में आया सबको? You can do this for 20 number of times because you have executed the loop for 20 times. Okay, आपने while loop में, in your while loop, you have executed, you have this while loop, this suspend flag. Okay, ये जो भी आपका ये synchronize किया है आपने, ये आपने 20 times किया है, तो you can do this for 20 times because this block of the more suspend, more resume, can do it for 20 times because you have iterated the code for 20 number of times. Okay, is it clear, class? Any doubt? Okay, Bhumi, others? Okay, so this is it for today. With this, we have completed the multi-threading topic. Okay, so from the next lecture, we'll start with your applet. Next lecture से हम applet start करेंगे. With this, all the features of your OOP, all the features of your Java has been completed, and all the features related programs has been completed. You'll have to execute all of this. Okay, आपको ये सब करना है. एंड पॉसिबली नेक्स्ट वीक के मंडे या तो संडे में आपका सेशनल लूंगी, सेशनल 2. सो यू हैव योर सेशनल 2 ऑन संडे. ओके, नॉट दिस संडे 19th को. ओके, यू विल हैव योर सेशनल 2 on 19th. You will have your sessional 2. So this is it for today. We have completed your features. Next up, we'll start with your applets. Thank you for the class. Please leave the classroom. And yes, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.